Ja, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, liebe Frau Präsidentin, lieber Generalsekretär.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, Mr. Stoltenberg, it is a great honor that the two of you are here today for our transatlantic forum today, which is a traditional warm-up before the start of the Munich Security Conference, where us being the CSU in Bavaria, we show our ideas for foreign policies, and of course also the security conference is happening for the 60th time this year. A few years ago, we were thinking about, okay, why do we even have a security conference? Because we live in a world where there really aren't any military problems anymore. And we can say now that it is our 60th birthday, we get back to our roots. It is really like it was in the past. It is an event where it's really about everything. It's about freedom, security, and peace. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm just saying that for the CSU, there are three messages that are important for me. First of all, we really need to have sustainable help for Ukraine that is believable. I think it is a shame. It is a shame that there's so much back and forth in Europe and also the United States when what kind of money is going to be paid off. And of course, the conflict that Russia started is really a material battle. So Ukraine can win this battle, but it is really shameful if we are really arguing about every kind of funding, if the presidents have to really fight for the majority and about decisions. We have to help them quickly. That's why it's very good that Germany actually has an agreement with Ukraine, but paper is very patient. We really have to act now. We really expect a quick decision for Taurus. And of course, that is the most important thing that Ukraine needs. And this war cannot be lost because of a lack of money. And the second thing is really showing that we are with NATO, Bavaria and Munich. We are for NATO, but that's really an association of values. It's not about just paying money. And a membership in NATO doesn't depend on how much you pay somebody else. And if you pay them to get support, it is really just something that we do together. That's why we really don't have any autocracy in our community. We really have values, and that's what NATO is based on. And that's why it is very important to have this association with America. We really are a transatlantic forum, and we really have to say that NATO is going to have to be here in the future, regardless of the elections in the United States and the results of them. And I can tell you that the biggest field where the American troops are practicing is in Germany. Without the logistics that we are offering in Europe, NATO and the United States of America would be limited in terms of the military. And the third point being, preparing for what is to come, we all have to invest more. Because I really want to say that Germany is going to have to contribute to really strengthen our military. It is not enough at the moment. It's not enough to just have a wish to do so. The 2% target is barely met. And us being in the CSU, we say that instead of just having special payments, we need to have 3% overall. 3% of our budget is going to have to be invested in military. 3%, from my point of view, would be the right thing to do. And Franz Josef Strauss, and he actually was part of the foundation of everything, it was 4%. So we're going to have to invest more without anything else. I mean, defense is going to have to be worth it. It's about all of our security and freedom. And that's why we have a very clear statement, and we want our government to act accordingly. And that is really our clear approach as the CSO for the future government, to have a clear priority on defense and our military. So again, thank you very much to the two of you for being here. It's a great honor.
Vielen Dank, Frau Präsidentin von der Leyen.
Thank you very much, Ms. von der Leyen. Yes, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here and to be here with the CSU and also the Security Conference and the NATO General Secretary. To me, it's almost a tradition to be here, I have to say. I am part of the Transatlantic Forum of the CSU. That is always the start of the Munich Security Conference. And especially in these difficult times, it's especially important because we really experienced the Russian war in Ukraine, and we are experiencing destabilization of the Middle East. And of course, we also experience more dominance on the part of China, at least that's their effort. And that's why it's even more important that democracies stick together and that we actually make it where our transatlantic partnership is strengthened. Today, when it comes to this transatlantic forum, there are two things that are important to me. First of all, the meaning of the war in Ukraine is definitely including more than just Ukraine. Russia is not only trying to make it where Ukraine is going to be wiped out, but they also try to make it, well, Russia and Putin and his friends, they try everything in order to make it where there's no democracy anymore. I really want to remind you of the blackmailing with Russian gas, or I would like to remind you of Russia trying anything and everything to use migrants as instruments and make it where our European borders aren't stable anymore, in Poland, for example, or Finland. And I would also like to remind you of the constant cyber attacks and misinformation that we're seeing everywhere. All of that affects us here in Europe immediately, but it also affects our American friends. Because the autocracy in this world, they definitely look at that specifically. They look at how resistant we are and how much we stick together, how we react to these aggressions. And that's why we really have a shared transatlantic interest in supporting Ukraine. And that leads me to my second point. We actually have invest a lot into supporting Ukraine, and I'm very happy that we now have another 50 billion euro package that has been bundled to support Ukraine. But at the same time, we also have to really face what's happening in the world. So we have to invest more into defense in Europe. So that means that we really have to strengthen our own defense industry. We have to invest more, and we have to invest smarter, and we also have to invest into Europe. And that's why us as the Commission, in the next month, we are going to have a strategy for the European defense industry that is going to be presented. It is important to us that there's going to be more investment. That is something that's already about to happen, but it's going to have to be sustainable long term. We have to invest smarter, and that means that we're going to have to more shared projects together. And European investments also mean that we are going to have to say clearly, if taxpayers in Europe invest billions in the defense of Europe, which is good and right, then they also expect that there's going to be a return on investment. So that means good jobs need to happen because of that in Europe. The fact that I am here with not only Mr. Söder, but also with the NATO General Secretary also shows very clearly, and that is my third point, that we have a very close collaboration with NATO. 22 of our member states are also in the Transatlantic Alliance, and that also means that the strategy when it comes to strengthening the European defense industry is definitely in close collaboration with NATO when it comes to planning processes or also standardization, because we do know that we have one single set of forces, so really just one single set of forces that we are using to defend our values and our democracies. And that's why it's really great that the three of us are here today. And of course, I also understand from my own experience that the Bavarian defense industry is very strong, and that's another reason to really be on the stage together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary General.
Thank you so much, Minister President Söder, dear Markus. Thank you for hosting this CSU Transatlantic Forum. And President von der Leyen, dear Ursula, it's always great to be together with you. And Ursula, you have played a key role in raising NATO-EU cooperation to unprecedented levels. This has been demonstrated through our response to Russia's war against Ukraine. On the day of the invasion, you and I stood side by side and delivered a clear message of support for the Ukrainian people. 2 years on, Ukraine continues to fight for its freedom and its independence. This is due first and foremost to the courage of the Ukrainian people, enabled by major military and economic support from Europe and North America. I welcome that the European Council has approved an important new package of aid to Ukraine, and I expect the US to follow suit. This is vital. Putin must realize he will not get what he wants on the battlefield. So if we want a lasting peace, we must continue to provide Ukraine with weapons and ammunition. This requires expanding our transatlantic industrial base to increase deliveries to Ukraine and refill our own stocks, and shifting from slow peacetime to the high tempo of conflict, to produce more at a higher speed. This will help Ukraine, it will make NATO stronger, and it will provide more highly skilled manufacturing jobs, including here in Bavaria, where Patriot missiles will be built at the new facility. This is another example of European and North American companies working together for our shared security. There is no imminent military threat against any NATO ally. NATO continues to ensure there is no room for miscalculation in Moscow about our readiness to protect all allies. With more forces, higher readiness and increased defence spending. Last year, we saw an unprecedented real increase of 11% in defence spending across European allies and Canada. This year, I expect 18 allies to spend 2% of GDP on defence, and I welcome that Germany is among that number. Germany's commitment to permanently station a brigade in Lithuania will also be a major contribution to NATO's deterrence and defence. A strong NATO is good for Europe and for North America. Together, we are half of the world's economic and military might. Together, we deter conflict and preserve peace. So, President von der Leyen, Minister President Söder, thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to our forward discussions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vielen Dank. Thanks for coming.